Hi, I'm Leslie Maddox, and today I'm sharing with you a review of Spelling You See Level B, along with my recommendations and best tips for using it in your homeschool. Spelling You See is put out by the same company that does Math You See, and like Math You See, they don't put grade levels on the books. They just put levels because the point is to know where you are, so it shouldn't matter. Like if you need level B learning, you need level B learning no matter what grade you're in. But roughly this is first grade, I would say. It comes with these erasable colored pencils. So these came with the program because you use different colors to mark different phonograms. And then it also comes with this guide to handwriting. And this guide to handwriting will show you, they pointed out that this is not a handwriting curriculum. You should use something else to learn handwriting, and I completely agree with that. If you're learning about spelling, let's focus on spelling, and let's focus on handwriting somewhere else, and then it will all come together as they build skill in both handwriting and spelling. I know there's a lot of types of curriculum where it kind of combines all things at once. I feel like when it's early learning, that just confuses kids more than anything else. So I like that they spell out that you have to separate things. But they do have this guide to handwriting, since this is roughly for a first grader, and they're still going to be mastering their letter formations. But let me show you a pet peeve I have. Notice the letter I, the uppercase I. It looks like a lowercase l. And then when you look at the lowercase l, they have this they differentiate them by doing this little kick out here. Well, I don't know how your kids have learned to write their manuscript letters, but my kids did not learn to write an uppercase I like that or a lowercase l like that. And so that has served as a point of confusion for my kids. An unnecessary one. I feel like, I just kind of don't know what they were thinking. Like, you got first graders here, let's just have kind of typical letter formations and not get in the way of the actual learning by this choice that they made. I really wish they would consider changing that, because this to me was almost enough reason not to use it. Spelling You See is a spelling curriculum that uses a unique approach. Rather than using word lists or learning phonograms, students learn to spell by marking, or they call it chunking, letter combinations in a passage, and then they use portions of the passage for copywork. Level B, you see, is called Jack and Jill, so it uses nursery rhymes to do that. Little songs like Wheels on the Bus, you see here. It's raining, it's pouring. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars. Part 1 of this level. There's also the part 2. So it includes some copy work, and then you're dictating words to them. They give you directions at the top of each page. You read the rhyme. You may have to clap it, like for syllables, and you read it together, and then it tells you what you need to mark with the colored pencils. Each lesson has 5 pages to it. There's A, where it's introduced, and then the same for the whole week. The same nursery rhyme is used. You have A, B, C, D, and then E. Then the next lesson, you use a new poem. We'll move on to the Wheels on the Bus. Since I'm just kind of trying out this curriculum this summer with my son, I decided not to use part 1, because what I really wanted to know is how the next part would work, the way that the levels typically are used would work for him. You start off page A with the nursery rhyme you're doing. They mark it or chunk it, and then they write it out. So they have some copy work, and then they chunk, in this case, the vowel chunks in what they wrote. Page B, same thing, just a different part of the passage for copy work. Page C, same nursery rhyme, more copy work. For the D page in part 2 of this level, it's this kind of creative day. They're supposed to chunk it and then draw a picture or kind of do just something free and creative. Be creative and have fun. So there's like no wrong way to do this. They could rewrite this. They could write their own little thing. I don't believe this is something that's supposed to be corrected. My kids, since they don't really love drawing, I mean, I convinced them to do it this time just to see if he would like it. But typically they don't really love drawing, so I don't require this page of them. I usually just skip it or tell them, if you want to do that, that's fine. But we're only doing this 4 days a week, and on Thursday we're doing page E. And page E is where they do the rhyme and then you dictate the rhyme. So you have to turn this over, and from the teacher's book, you read the rhyme and slowly and help them write it out. I think the book recommends that you do only like 10 minutes. So you may want to set a timer. And the point isn't you're not trying to write this whole thing out. You're just trying to practice the student recalling without looking how to spell these words using these vowel chunks. Another necessary part of this curriculum is the instructor's handbook. Sometimes, especially for the lower grades, you don't necessarily need like the teacher's guide, but I'd say in this case you do. It does have a lot of information, like their philosophy for, let's look at the table of contents. Their philosophy for, how this curriculum is set up, a philosophy, some information about the stages of spelling. And I think that's really helpful if you're new to homeschooling or you're new to teaching a student how to spell. If you don't have a background in education or a background in teaching, like I don't, I love seeing this type of well thought out instructional material for parents to give me the information I need to help my students. So I do like that. They have a getting started section, lots of tips, so there's a bit of reading there, and then they have information about each of the lessons. And this is where I feel it gets weak, because you have here information for each of the lessons and what to do with them, but then you have your dictation list in another part, passage dictation, letterbox dictation in another part of the book. I don't know why those weren't all put together. What I did was I just took one of these little clips. So, for example, covering lesson 20, I have that right here, and then the dictation for lesson 20 right here. So I just have that clip holding those 2 pages so I can kind of keep track of, it's easy for me to turn from one or the other. And you need this not just for the chunking part. You can look at it and just figure it out, but if I'm sure you're like me where you've got other kids and other stuff going on, and it's nice to just look at this and know right away if they've got all of their chunks right. As far as teacher prep goes, I would say that to spend some time with this book when you first get the curriculum and kind of get a handle on it, the introduction and kind of what you need to do. And then for each lesson, when you do when you first introduce a lesson, so the A worksheet, read through this and see what you're supposed to be focusing on with your student. Honestly, I don't always do that, and I think it's been okay, but I try to remember to kind of look through here and see, what especially are they thinking that I need to point out to my student. As far as how much time your student will spend on this, I would say it shouldn't take longer than about 20 minutes. If it's taking longer than 20 minutes, then probably just need to just cut it off at 20 minutes. I wouldn't spend more time on that. Definitely for the dictation pages, they recommend page E. They recommend that's you just spend 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes on that. So they might take another 10 minutes to do the chunking, what I tell my son to do is once to look for it here and identify the spots that need to be chunked, and then he can use that as a reference for when the next day and the day after when he does his chunking. That's part 2, the part 2 workbook. For the part 1 workbook, it should take even less time. You chunk this, a little bit of writing here, and then you dictate a few words. And I feel like they're building up they're kind of building up that muscle in the part 1 for listening to dictation and writing what they heard. So again, I would think that this would take less than 20 minutes to do, especially for a first grader. I feel like a first grader, like even 10 minutes should probably be the max, but since this isn't terribly difficult, they seem to be okay with 20 minutes. I would recommend Spelling UC to students that prefer the written word and the spoken word as learning methods, since this is a spelling curriculum that focuses on copy work and dictation. Also, students that prefer working one-on-one might really like this curriculum, since there is so much dictation in it, especially the first half, where every day you're dictating something. With part 2, you're dictating on the E pages, but not previously. So also, students that really enjoy nursery rhymes might find this to be very delightful, since that's what's used throughout this level B. I would not recommend Spelling UC for students that are below the reading level required for their nursery rhyme. So be sure to take a look at the website to properly place your students. You can see some examples here that this one's very simple to read, but it does get a little more difficult. And I don't feel like there's really any point in trying to get your student to spell words that they couldn't even read. You don't learn coding and decoding, spelling and reading in lockstep. At least that's not how I do with my kids. They learn to spell, they learn to read at a certain level, and then a year later, they're learning to spell at the level that they learned to read the past year. Be very careful about how you place your student. I also wouldn't recommend this for a student that struggles learning via the spoken word. So if your student has like a receptive language disorder, this curriculum like this that relies heavily on dictation may not be the best choice. Also, students that prefer independent work, because of that dictation, they might not enjoy this. They might enjoy the pages like A, B, C, D that they work with, for the most part on their own, but that E pages dictation, so an independent learner might not like that. My best tip for using Spelling UC is to set a timer for 10 minutes on the days you do the passage dictation. So the letter E page. You get to this page, have them do their part here, flip this over, set a timer for 10 minutes, and let the student know we're only going to do this for 10 minutes. For some students, that they might feel pressure to finish this whole thing in 10 minutes, or they might feel like a failure if they can't finish it all in 10 minutes. So you may want to have that discussion that, it doesn't matter if we finish or not, we're just practicing. Isn't it nice that at 10 minutes we can be done, no matter what? For other students, they might feel some freedom knowing that this isn't going to go on forever, that they know that there's an end time, and once that's done, it's done. If you're interested in more videos like this, where I give you a review and my recommendations and best tips for how to use a book or workbook or curriculum in your homeschool, please tap on the playlist I have at the side. That's where I keep all these types of videos. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.